So welcome to part 1 of making this epic sword in Blender. We're going to be using Blender 2.91 and I'm going to be going step by step. So part 1, which is this one, we're going to be going through the whole modeling process. I'm going to be explaining it as clearly as I can. And then in part 2, I'll actually do the materials and we'll set up the lighting. I'll show you where you can get some of these cool free textures online and just go through that whole process. So if you think this is something that you would like, keep watching. And if it's a help to you, please like and also subscribe. I do appreciate that. And I am making these models available on my Patreon as well. So that's enough said. Let's get started with part 1. Open up a new scene in Blender. Go ahead and select all of the default objects in the scene. Hit X and delete. So let's start by going to our front orthographic view. You can do that by hitting 1 on your number pad. We're then going to go Shift A to bring up our add options here. We're going to go to the mesh drop down and we're going to go down and add in a cylinder to get started. So go to the mesh cylinder. With the cylinder here selected, we're going to tab into edit mode by hitting the tab key. We're still in our front orthographic view, and with all of this geometry selected, if it's not, just double tap A or to deselect or select it. And then you can go R, X, 90 and hit enter. So we've now rotated it 90 degrees on the X axis. So go back into your front orthographic view, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the modifiers tab. We're going to go to add modifier, and we're going to give this a mirror modifier. Now what we want to do is we actually want to think about what axis we want to mirror this on. So in this case, we don't want to be mirroring on the X, we want to be mirroring on the Y. So let's come over here to the mirror. We're going to take the X here, disable it, and enable the Y axis. We're now going to go G and Y, and we're going to move this forward. In fact, if you hit 3 to go into your right orthographic view, so hit 3, go into your right orthographic view, and if you go G, Y, you can see you're moving it on the Y. So we're moving it this way towards our left. And then we're going to come here and enable clipping. And then we're going to go G, Y, and move them together so they clip together. So now if we hit G and we move this, you can see they're fused together. So move them in about this much. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Z to go into wireframe. Deselect everything and then click here and just drag and select all of these back vertices to select that face. Hit X and delete that face. So now that face is gone. So now we're going to just do some basic modeling. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our face select option, click on it, then select this face over here. Then we're going to hit I to inset it. So hit I and we're going to inset it to about here. Then we're going to hit E to extrude and we're going to extrude it in. Then we're going to hit I again to inset it. Then we're going to hit E to extrude out to here. And then S to scale it down like that, and then hit I to inset it in a little bit, move it to about here, and then E to extrude it in like that, and then S to scale that face while it's still active. So just like that. Then we're going to go to our edge select option, and we're going to go Shift Alt, hold those two in, and then click on the edge here, and it's going to loop select this edge. Then if we go Control B or Command B, we can actually create a bevel. So we're going to bevel it like that, just like that. And now we're going to tab out of edit mode into object mode, and what we need to do also is go to our modifiers and smooth this out. But if we were to actually give this a subdivision surface modifier, it's going to smooth everything out like this in a way we don't want. So what we're going to do is we're first of all on top of this mirror here, or underneath it I should say, we're going to come and add a bevel modifier. So you can see underneath the mirror there's a bevel. We need to come here to the limit method and make it angle. And now if we control this amount over here, we can control the bevel size. So this is completely up to you, but I'm going to go with a bevel size of 0.015, and I'm going to come here to the segment and increase that. So just to make this a little bit tighter on the edges, a little bit more rounded out. And you can mess around with this angle, but 30 should be okay. And then on top of that, we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier, go to object mode and enable shade smooth. So now that kind of fixes that issue for us. So now we have these three nicely lined up. So this bottom part is now done. We're now going to start making the actual handle that you hold onto. So in our front orthographic view, we're going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a cylinder. And with the cylinder here, we're going to tab into edit mode. And you can see this little orange dot there. That's your origin point. So we're going to go G, Z, and move all of this up on the Z till that bottom face is resting on that little orange dot. It doesn't have to be exact. Then we're going to tab out of edit mode and we're going to go G, Z, and move this up till it's sitting about there. You can hit Z, go into wireframe if it helps. Then you're going to go S to scale this down to about that much. Then you're going to go hit 3 to go into your right orthographic view. And then you're going to go S, Y, and scale it in on the Y, like that. So just like that, you can see what we're doing. Go back into edit mode, go to your face select, and select this top face. Go into your front orthographic view again, and then you're going to go G, Z, and move it up to about here. It can really vary depending on what you're going for. I'm just going to go up to about here. And then I'm going to hit S just to scale it up a little bit. So just S to scale it up a bit. With that face still selected, I'm going to hit X and delete that face. And I'm going to go into wireframe, select this bottom face here, hit X and delete that face. So now we have this over here. What we might also have to do is just go back to the edge select, Shift Alt, click on the edge here to loop selected, and then go S, Y, and this flatten this a little bit more on the Y. Just like that. So now that we have that done, we can actually get into making the handle part here, or the bar at the top here. So just tab out of edit mode, and also just give this guy, while it's selected, this handle, just go to object mode and enable shade smooth. So now we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in a cube. G, Z, roughly move it to the top here. So go ahead and click on your modifiers here. Go to add modifier and give this guy a mirror modifier. And then we're going to tab into edit mode. With all of this selected, we're going to go G, X, and move it over to the side. That is still in our front orthographic view. Enable clipping, and then just make sure to select face mode, select the face in here, hit X, delete that face, A to select everything, and then G, X, move them together till they fuse. And then we're going to go S, Z to flatten it, like this. So just for now, with a thickness like that, go to your right orthographic view by hitting 3 on your number pad, and then go S, Y, and scale it down on the Y, like that. So now we have the start of a handle here. So what we need to do is select this face here, and then we're going to go S, Y, and scale it down on the Y. And then back in our front orthographic view, hit 1 to go into your front orthographic view. That face there is still selected or active. We're going to go E to extrude, and we're going to go R to rotate that face, and then G to move it up to about there. And then we're going to maybe just rotate it like this, maybe. Yeah, just like that. And then we're going to go E to extrude one more time. And then we're going to go S, Z, and scale it down into Z, like that. And then you can go Control plus to grow the selection. So we only have this selected. And in your front orthographic view, you can move this around and try some different approaches to this. So you can try bringing this up a bit. It really just depends on what theme or what style you like. Maybe you like it a little bit sharper looking, a little bit shorter, a little bit more up. I don't know, just try whatever works for you. So I'm gonna go with something just like that. And then once I'm done, I'm gonna select this face over here, enable proportional editing, and then if I go S, Y, and I scale this down into Y, and I roll my middle mouse button, I can control the fall off. So I'm gonna just scale that down. And you can see the rest of it goes along. So I'm gonna scale down till it's a bit more pointy. Then I'm gonna disable it. So you can see this is what we have, but at the moment we want to clean up some of the sharpness. So go to your edge select, Shift Alt, and click on this edge to loop selected, and then go Control B to bevel. So Control B to create a bevel, and then roll your middle mouse button to add in more segments, just like that. And you can select this edge here if you want, loop selected, Control B, and just bevel that as well. So that's looking pretty cool. So now we're going to tab out of edit mode. This is looking way too sharp, so let's go to our modifiers. And on top of the mirror here, we're going to add in a bevel. And we're going to come here to the limit method, once again, make it angle. So it's just looking at the angle here where it's going to apply it. And you can mess around with this amount. So I'm going to just decrease the bevel size a little bit, just like that. Maybe a bit smaller. Just experiment. And then increase the segment count to round that out, as you can see. And then go to object mode and enable shade smooth. So now we can see it doesn't look sharp on the edges, it looks nice and smooth and polished, and that's exactly what we want. And we don't actually have to add a subdivision surface modifier on top of this. You can just keep it as it is, that should be fine. So that's looking really cool. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make the actual blade. So to make the blade can be a little bit tricky, but it's not really. So just follow along and you kind of see what I'm getting at. So what we're gonna do once again is work with a cube and we're gonna mirror it. So let's go Shift A, let's just add in a cube. And we're going to go G, Z, and just move it up till it's sitting on top of the blade there. And we're going to go S. In fact, let's just go into edit mode first. So in edit mode, we're going to go S, Y to flatten it a bit, like this. And we're going to go G, Z, and just move it up till the bottom is kind of sitting on there like that. So nothing too complicated. Let's give this a mirror modifier. And let's go G, X, and move it over on the X. grab this face over here. So go to your face select, select this face, hit X and delete face. Enable clipping, which is going to allow these edges to merge. Hit A to select them, and then go G, X, and move them in, and they're going to merge together. We're going to move it in to about this much. Now this also really depends on the blade you're going for. You can customize this a little bit. You might want a little bit of a wider sword, but just try and be realistic with it. I'm going to go something that's just a little bit wider than the base of the handle here. Then we're going to get this top face here, and this is where it's getting interesting. So we're going to go E to extrude it up, and the length of your sword is up to you. So I'm going to go with something like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go G, X, and I'm going to move that top face in till it's a bit pointier, about that much, not too much. And then I'm going to go E to extrude one more time up to about here. And then I'm going to go G, X, and move that face in like that. Just make it a bit pointier. But at the moment the sword is way too thick, so what we're going to do is with that face still selected, we're going to hold in Shift, select this face and this face, and this face. So these faces are all selected. And then we're going to go S, and we're going to go Y, and we're going to scale them down on the Y to flatten them. So S, Y, and keep going, S, Y, just till they're really, really sharp. And then we're going to go deselect everything, and then we're going to hover over one of these corners here, or these edges. So just zoom in and just hover over one of these edges here of your cursor and go Control R. And you can see a yellow line appearing. So Control R, double click to add in a cut or an edge. And then with that edge still active, you can see it's active all along here. You're going to go Alt S and scale that out along the normal. So Alt S, not S, but Alt S. And just bring that out to sharpen it, to make it look like a really sharp edge. And now we're going to hit free to go into a right orthographic view. Go to vertex select and select this vertex here, holding and shift select this one. So just these two here, like that. And then we're going to go S just to scale them down till the sword is much flatter. And that's how you make a sword, just like that. So that's how you make the actual blade part. So tab out of edit mode. And with this one here, we're not even going to give it a smooth shading or anything. We're just going to leave it as it is. But what you might want to do is come to the top here in edit mode. Just grab the very top vertex and go G, Z, and just bring it up like this, just to sharpen it out a bit. So now you have a nice sharp sword with the appropriate profile, and you can see it here. So that's a nice blade to your sword there. But what we want to do as well is add just a little thing around here that you sometimes see on swords, just to hold in the sword. So we're going to select the blade, just go to edit mode, go to your face select here, and then holding in Shift and Alt, click on the edge here. So just an edge, and that's going to loop select these faces down here. You're going to go Shift D to duplicate them, right click to let go, and then Alt S, and you're going to scale that out along the normals. So Alt S, so just like that. And then you can go S, Z to scale it down into Z, about this much, and then G, Z, bring that all down. And then we're going to hit P with that still selected. We're going to separate by selection. Hit Tab to go into object mode again, and then select this as a new object. So it's now its own object. And let's give that a subdivision surface modifier. And bump up the levels in the viewport. Go to object mode and enable shade smooth. So just like that. Tab into edit mode. Go to your face edge select. Shift Alt, click on the edge here. E to extrude, and then S to scale in just a little bit, and then E to extrude again, and then S to scale all the way in like that. Then we're going to come over here to an edge, Control R. You can see a yellow line, double click, double G, and just slide that up to tighten that edge up. So now we have this part here done. So now there's one more thing we can make to really, well, two more things, but we're going to get the second thing. So we're going to make a little decorative part down here. You don't have to do this, it's optional, but I like doing it. So all we need to do is simply just go Shift A, add in a cube, G, Z, bring it down a bit, and then tab into edit mode, go into wireframe, and then scale it down. Just bring it down like this. Hit free to go into your right orthographic view, and then go S, Y, and just flatten that on the Y a bit. Go back into your front view and just select these bottom vertices here, and then go S, X, and scale them along the X. And you can kind of just bring the whole thing down. This is really kind of one of those things that it doesn't have to be exactly like I'm doing it, but just experiment with some different styles, but it's just a little bit like this at the bottom. which is just simply made out of a cube. And what you can do, once you're happy with the shape, you can actually just simply add in some decoration. So let's go to our face select option here. And we're going to select this face here. Holding Shift, we're going to select the face at the back. Then we're going to hit I to inset it. So hit the I key, and they're both going to inset a little bit. And with them both still selected, we're going to hit E to extrude, right click to let go, and then we're going to go Alt S, and we're going to just scale them in. And it'll happen to both of them at the same time. So Alt S, and just bring it in like that. You can see it happens on the other side as well. Alt S, both at the same time. Tab out of edit mode, and let's give this a bevel modifier. Make the limit method angle, and then come to the amount here and just mess around with it till it's right bevel size you're looking for. And just smooth it out, just give it some more segments. Go to object mode and make sure to enable shade smooth. So there you have the bottom part done. Just deselect it. And our sword is almost done. We're really getting close to finishing, but there's one more thing we can add that's really going to make this look cool. And that's kind of like the lever strapping here. Now you could weave it, which would be a bit complicated, but I come up with a simple way to kind of make it look like lever strapping, but it's not really. So let's select the handle here, tab into edit mode, and what we're going to do is come to our edge select, hover over one of these edges and go Control R. You're going to see a yellow line appearing. Double click, double G to slide it down to the bottom. And if that edge still selected, we're going to go Control B to bevel. Roll your middle mouse button down to make sure you don't have any cuts in the middle. So just like this. So about that size. And then once it's done, you're going to go Shift D to duplicate it, right click to let go. And if that's still active, you're going to go Alt S and you're going to scale it out along the normals just a little bit, like that. And now we're going to make it its own object. So we're going to hit P and we're going to go separate by selection. Tab out of edit mode. In object mode, we're going to now select this new object. Tab into edit mode of that guy. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go, with our edge select still enabled, we're going to go Shift Alt, click on this top edge to loop selected. We're going to go S to scale it down a bit. And then we're going to hit A to select everything here. And we're going to go G, Z, and bring it down to about here. And then we're going to hit Z to go into wireframe. Deselect everything. And then we're going to go to our vertex select option. We're going to click here and just drag and select these four vertices like this. Enable the proportional editing, hit G and then Z, and just move that up to bend it. And you can roll your middle mouse button down to decrease the fall off. So bringing that up to about there, just like that. And that should be enough for now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to deselect this, the proportional fall off. We're going to hit A to select all of this, and we're going to go Shift D to duplicate, and Z, and we're going to move it up to about here. And then we're going to see what it looks like. We're going to go to our right view. That all looks okay. And let's do that again. Shift D, Z, and move it up. Shift D, Z, and move it up. In fact, once you do that, you make that operation, you can actually hit Shift R to repeat that action. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to hit Shift R a few times to repeat that action all the way to the top. Only downside is when we get to the top here, it starts intersecting here on the sides because the handle gets wider. So all we simply have to do to fix that is select the very top loop of vertices here, or edges, enable proportional editing again, then go S, X, and scale it along the X and just roll the proportional editing up to make it a bit bigger. And then go to your right orthographic view and go S, Y, and scale it on the Y just a little bit. And that's it. Now we have that part done. But to make it look really cool, we can go and give it a solidify modifier and then bring this thickness up or down, whatever you need to make it look thicker. So you can see it gives it some solidity. So just something like this. And then on top of that, we're going to give it a bevel modifier, make the limit method angle, and bump the segment count up to 2 or 3. And then on top of that, we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier. Go to object mode and enable shade smooth. So now we have this. It looks like really cool lever strapping. It just really is a nice decorative kind of looking feature to the sword, instead of just having like a plain boring handle. So that's how I made that part. So here we have it now, a finished sword. And you can add all sorts of little embellishments and details if you wish, but I'm going to leave it at this for now. It's the modeling done. So what we're going to do now in part 2 is we're going to start adding in our materials and textures, doing some really special kind of lighting, messing around a bit, till we get a really beautiful sword render that you can be proud to show to anybody. So that's going to be part 2. Check it out on my channel.